Me. I was the one summoned. I was pulled into the University of Mexico. A young woman brought me here, right near the edge of a sinister national fate. But when the people of the Dragon Country saw me, their hearts filled with despair. It turns out the history of Jewiscides is long and complicated. This world has been erased by a sinister blood moon, leaving the people in darkness. And if the Dragon Country thinks I'm just some ancient general, they have no idea what's coming. I stood there, listening to the wails of those mourning the war. Looking at this, I knew exactly what they needed. A foundation as solid as wood. Powerless in the Yuan Temple, Erlang Shen, the true lord, attends to the call. Xiang delivers the message. The sun and the moon are finally shining together. Open up, at this moment, within the sinister contract space. The young girl, Sinjia, appears. She's looking at me timidly, thinking, this is my partner. My new teammate actually looks pretty happy about it. She smiled and said, Hi, I'm Sinjia. I'm your teammate. It's nice to meet you. You can call me Yang Jian. I stilled my mind, closed my eyes, and focused my spirit. I let my divine sense scan through Sinjia's memories to understand this world's darkness. The sinister forces here actually have a few clever tricks up their sleeve. At the start of the Blue Star invasion, they found a way to strike deep. They severed humanity's faith and wiped away all memory of ancient mythologies. Interesting. Just then, a cold, sinister voice echoed through the silence. The announcement began. The sinister trial officially begins. Transmission of the law's obsession is starting. Good luck to all competitors. The moment the voice faded, a surge of spatial energy wrapped around Sinjia and me. Sinjia couldn't help it. She squeezed her eyes shut tight. I focused, carefully sensing the source of this transmission power. It was the world's source. This world's heavens are too weak to resist the invasion on their own. A flash of white light blinded us, and suddenly, we were standing in a mountain forest. Sinjia looked around, her face twisted in confusion. She expected this sinister trial to be terrifying, but it looked peaceful. I heard a voice nearby dripping with disdain. This is the trial for this time? Doesn't seem like a big deal, does it? Sinjia noticed the other competitors from different countries arguing nearby. She hesitated, wondering if she should warn them, but the cold voice rang out again. The trial was about to get real. Jianjia Village, Chaoxing City. Main objective, survive for 168 hours. Just 7 days in this village. No need to even fight Zafon. Dealing with ghosts should be easy enough. But I was curious. The task was marked with a half star for safety, followed by 5 full stars. Doesn't that mean certain death? The doubt gnawed at Sinjia. She subconsciously looked at me, noting the fluctuating difficulty level. The gap was massive. I scanned the area, locking onto the targets. Yang Jian, what do we do now? She whispered. Let's go. We're heading into the village. After all, we have 7 days to survive. Fine, she said. I'll follow your lead. Our move toward the village immediately drew the attention of the other players. How adorable. The Dragon Country players are rushing in, one mocked. The mission says survive, not enter the village. There are definitely ghosts in there. A man turned around, facing the other players while pulling out a golden bead. It was a Buddhist prayer bead emitting a strange glow. I am Asura from the Cherry Blossom Country. With this light, no ghost will dare approach us. He suggested camping in the woods, promising safety if they followed his orders. His words swayed the crowd, and a flash of smug satisfaction crossed Asura's eyes. He wanted the highest contribution reward, while back in the real world, the Dragon Country chat exploded. This guy is a total amateur, charging into the village without a single strategy. I ignored the chatter and led Sinjia straight to the village entrance. I didn't step inside immediately. Instead, I looked up at the sky. The air was thick with the scent of blood, but a faint, stubborn, killing intent lingered within. It was this specific aura that kept the supernatural horrors at bay. They were terrified of it, not daring to invade the village on a large scale. It was a protective shield of slaughter, tempered in a rain of blood. Sinjia tugged at my sleeve, her voice trembling slightly. Brother Yang, what are you looking at? She asked, seeing only dark clouds. I didn't explain. I just led her past the threshold and into the village. We soon crossed paths with a local man carrying a heavy hoe over his shoulder. Kids, why are you coming here now? He asked. It's almost pitch black. We're just tourists hiking through the mountains. I lied smoothly. We got lost, and we're hoping to stay for a few days while we wait for our friends. He pointed down the road. The village chief's house is right there. He's a good man. Suddenly, a middle-aged woman approached us with an overly enthusiastic smile. I'm Auntie Zon, she chirped. I'll lead you there. We must hurry. It's getting dark. I followed her, my eyes scanning the courtyards we passed, lost in thought. A gate creaked open, and a man in a traditional Zhongshan suit stepped out. Min Chao, the woman called out. These 2 kids are lost tourists looking for a place to stay. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next part. Welcome, friends. I'm Yin Min Chao, the chief of Yangjia Village. I gave a slight nod and introduced myself as Yang Jian and my companion as Shen Jiai. As we entered the courtyard, I spotted an old man sitting in a wooden chair. His eyes were closed, and I noticed he was missing one of them. Sinjia shrank behind me in fear, but Yin Min Chao quickly stepped in to explain. He told us his father was a war hero who had killed many invaders during the resistance. The fear in Sinjia's eyes instantly turned to respect as she greeted the old man. The old man opened his eyes slowly, his gaze clouded and confused. What, demons? He muttered. The corner store doesn't sell those. Senjia raised her voice, trying to explain her name to him again. The old man just grumbled, looking a bit annoyed by the noise. He leaned on his cane and began humming an old tune to himself. I looked at him, realizing he was one of the men who protected this land with his life. Yan Min Chao turned to us and whispered that his father was just hard of hearing. Suddenly, a booming voice echoed from inside the house. You little rascal, I'm not deaf yet. Yan Min Chao flinched and hurried us toward the guest room in the west wing. The conditions here are rough, he apologized. I hope you city kids don't mind. Senjia shook her head quickly, insisting that it was perfectly fine. Survival is the only thing that matters in this memory realm, so a bed is a luxury. As Yan Min Chao walked toward the door, he suddenly stopped as if remembering something. His face turned dead serious as he warned us never to go out at night, no matter what we heard. Shen Jiayi's heart skipped a beat, and she nodded frantically. I gave a slight nod too, but I had already sensed the presence of ghosts and monsters nearby. Creatures were roaming the village, but something was blocking their path. A lingering, guardian evil aura was protecting the perimeter. They could only prowl the edges, unable to touch the houses. Once we were alone, Shen Jiayi nervously suggested we take turns keeping watch. She was terrified by the chief's warning that something dangerous was lurking outside. I walked straight to the edge of the bed and sat down cross-legged. I told her it wasn't necessary and that she should just sleep. She wanted to argue, but seeing how calm I was, she chose to trust me and drifted off. Meanwhile, deep in the thick jungle, Tian Ao and his group were setting up camp. They were exhausted from the journey, huddled together in the dark. The others were busy praising Tian Ao for his leadership. He soaked in the compliments, feeling like the man in charge. Eventually, he stood up and headed toward the tall grass. He told the group he just needed to relieve himself. Less than 2 minutes later, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the trees. The group huddled around the bonfire, frozen in fear. They stared into the darkness toward the sound, wondering what it was. That was Tom's voice. Did he run into a ghost or something? Tian Ao felt his heart skip a beat, but he relied on his family's strength. He gripped his Buddhist prayer beads and quickly forced himself to calm down. What's with the panic? He snapped. Stop being cowards and follow me. They didn't have to walk far before they reached the edge of the clearing. Suddenly, someone pointed a trembling finger toward the shadows. Their breath hitched as they looked at what lay ahead. In the next second, everyone's pupils dilated in pure horror. The air grew heavy as they all held their breath. The man who had just left was pinned alive to a massive tree by a sharp object. His internal organs had been ripped out and turned into a mangled mess. The sight was so bloody that one of the men started vomiting on the spot. Another man snapped, screaming that he wanted to go home because of the ghosts. Tian Ao roared for silence, shouting that no one moves without his order. He squeezed his prayer beads until his knuckles turned white. He claimed these were just weak spirits afraid to attack them head-on, but his bravado couldn't hide the stench of death in the air. The survivors began to retreat, walking back-to-back to guard their rear. We moved with caution, only to discover the path we came from had vanished. We were just walking in circles. We're in the same spot. How is this possible when we haven't gone far? It's a ghost wall, I realized, a signature move of the ghost race. Right then, a sudden gust of wind swept through the trees. It was strange, cold, and piercing, flickering the torches in our hands. Suddenly, the flames in everyone's hands turned a sickly green. Immediately after, another blood-curdling scream rang out. The crowd spun around in horror and saw that half the group was gone. The upper torso of a white man had completely disappeared. This sight shattered the woman's mental defenses entirely. She couldn't take it anymore. Ignoring any sense of safety, she broke rank. She ran desperately toward Yangjia village, her morale completely gone. Back in the real world, audiences from across the globe watched the feed. They were stunned, realizing that this place was the real deal. Yang village is now considered a safe zone, which makes the Enhwa people a joke. Wasn't their precious Tian Ao supposed to be famous? Why does he look like a stray dog now? A viewer from Enhwa snapped back, telling them to lay off their young boss. This is only temporary. We'll be the ones left standing in the end. I watched her collapse at the edge of the forest. Her body was covered in jagged scars from the thorns, but seeing Zhao Yan made her fear vanish. Zhao Yan stared at the cracked Buddhist prayer beads in his hand, his face pale with lingering terror. Damn it, he muttered. If that happens again, I'm heading straight for the village. Deep in a dark, obscured corner, a man who had supposedly vanished was watching. It was Hideo, a man whose true identity remained buried in the shadows. He glared at Zhao Yan's back, letting out a low, resentful growl. Damn it, I didn't expect that human to be carrying a treasure like that. He knew he had to report this to Lord Hongji immediately. But Lord Hongji was still deep in his slumber, and waking him could trigger a lethal rage. We can't worry about that now. If we fail the Forest Lord's orders, our souls will be extinguished. The time was coming soon. Back at the cemetery, several small ghosts approached the woman's house. They scurried toward a massive, scarlet coffin. One small ghost drew a sword to steady its nerves. It mustered its courage and whispered, Lord Hongji, I know disturbing your sleep means death, but I have urgent matters to report. The coffin lid creaked open as a grim, suffocating atmosphere flooded the room. A hauntingly beautiful figure slowly sat up from within the casket. The old master was finally dead, and a new power had been resurrected. The small ghost trembled as it spoke, reporting to Lord Hongji. That's not right, the evil spirit within the coffin corrected. Since I'm not dead, why have you summoned me? Give me a reason. The crushing weight of the spirit's presence nearly made the small ghost collapse. The small ghost spoke in a frantic rush. It's like this. Yesterday, a group of outsiders entered this place. One carries Futu Buddhist beads, and another, he looks like a god. The female ghost, Hongyi, fell silent before erupting in a burst of shock and rage. Stupid, what kind of divinity could he possibly have? She flew furiously out of the temple, heading straight for the Yang residence. Tonight, I will personally see who dares to play God in front of me. Back at the village chief's house, Senji apologized for falling asleep last night. I told her not to worry, but she puffed out her chest with determination. That won't do, she said. Tonight is my turn to show what I can do. She looked at me with a spark of excitement. Really, Yangjia? I've watched ghost art streams before, even in beginner levels. Half the people die on night 1. But now it seems we have good luck. Maybe we really can survive. I didn't share her optimism as I stared toward the courtyard gate. Senji followed my gaze, her smile fading in the very next second. A group of people was walking into the small courtyard, and one of them was missing a limb. Senji's voice trembled as she whispered, "How is this possible?" She finally understood my warning as the bloody reality stood before her. The village chief, Yin Mingqiao, entered the courtyard with the group. He looked at Senji and me, letting out a heavy, tired sigh. He asked if these newcomers were also our companions, and Senji nodded. His throat sounded dry as he told us we were lucky to have entered the village yesterday. The others had spent the night out in the forest. A bear had found them, and the results were clearly devastating. Yin Mingqiao turned to the crowd and explained that the mountain path was destroyed by floods. I imagine you won't be able to leave the mountain for a few days, he said. He promised to gather the villagers to help us, despite the village's current state. He assured us they wouldn't leave us stranded until the waters receded. After the chief left, the other players looked at us with bitter, complex expressions. The man with the severed arm laughed weakly. We called you idiots yesterday. Now it looks like I'm the real idiot here, he admitted. Listening to their complaints, Senji realized this trial wasn't safe at all. She realized I was the only reason we had chosen the right path. She looked at me in awe and said, "Yang Jia, you're truly incredible." I ignored the praise and focused on the hidden boss I sensed nearby. To me, these spirits are nothing more than ants beneath my feet. Time passed silently as I focused on the supernatural laws of cultivation. The last ray of celestial light was finally swallowed by the horizon. Night had officially fallen over the village. I walked out of the house and sat in the old chair in the courtyard. Since I've taken shelter under someone's roof, I can't let them suffer. The Dragon Country audience watching the stream completely misunderstood my actions. They panicked because the chief warned everyone to stay inside after dark. The comments flooded in, screaming that I was finished. A figure appeared on the live broadcast right outside the courtyard gate. It was a tall, eerie silhouette dressed in crimson. The figure pushed the gate open and stepped directly into the courtyard. I raised my eyes slightly and looked at the man in red standing before me. It was the vengeful spirit in red, Senyanra. He scanned my body and sensed zero magical fluctuations from me. He couldn't understand why his subordinates claimed my power was like a prison. Senyanra smiled flirtatiously, revealing a bone-chilling coldness. "You're clearly just an ordinary person," he sneered. He claimed he was going to spare humanity for the sake of an old friend. But then, his speech came to a sudden, sharp halt. Killing intent exploded in his eyes as he hissed, "Stop playing God with me. If you won't listen to me, then don't blame me for what comes next." Before he could even finish his sentence, a flash of golden light ignited in my eyes. With just a single glance, Senyanra crashed to his knees, paralyzed. He looked up at me, his eyes wide with pure shock. "How is this possible?" he gasped. I looked down at him and thought, "Your vision is still too limited. To me, you're just a pile of red rags, a literal frog at the bottom of a well. You see the moon in the sky, but you'll never reach it. Even if you become a ghost immortal, you're still just duckweed staring at the blue sky. What a pity, you won't even get the chance to try." But in that moment, I saw it. I saw Senyanra's entire past life flash before me. So that's who you are, and that's the dark truth behind this village. I remembered the system saying rewards are tied to the completion rate of the dungeon. I decided to let it play out and said, "Go on, do what you have to do." The figure in red rose slowly, gave me a deep, respectful bow, and vanished. I turned around and waved my hand, laughing softly at my own unnecessary worry. I had just stepped back into the room when the village chief's daughter ran up to me. "Brother Yang, where were you?" A strange, evil wind just blew through and I couldn't open the door. I played it cool and said, "I was just in the courtyard. It was probably just a breeze from the river." Then I looked her in the eye and added, "By the way, don't sleep tonight. Your second lesson is coming." The slums of Sinji Alley were a chaotic mess. I watched the shadows shift and thought, here we go again. Always so mysterious, aren't they? I don't know how much time passed before her eyelids began to flutter. The temperature started to drop and I wondered if she realized she was being watched. The lights in the room began to flicker violently, casting jagged shadows on the walls. Senjai let out a sharp, piercing scream. "Brother Yang, wake up, there are ghosts," she cried, but I didn't react at all. Sinjiali's hands were trembling, her grip tight and desperate. She grabbed a wooden club, holding it with white-knuckled intensity, and shouted, "Come out. I'm not afraid of you," she stammered, her eyes darting to every corner of the room. Suddenly, she felt a deathly chill on her shoulder and swung the club back with a shriek. The wood smashed into the wall, leaving a massive, gaping hole. I was actually a bit speechless. For a mortal, that kind of strength is no joke. And that was exactly the point of the second lesson I wanted to teach her, confrontation. Right then, a low, eerie howl erupted from the darkness. The sound echoed from the corner of the room, chilling the very air. A shadow lunged at her, and though she shook with terror and tears, she didn't run. Sinjiai wept as she whispered, "I can't die. I promised them I'd survive this level." She stood her ground, refusing to let her life slip away in this dark place. She swung the wooden club, but the spirit seemed to draw the weapon toward it. It was pulling her straight into its grasp. Suddenly, a sharp knock echoed through the room as Yang Hun's father burst in. Yang Liu entered, clad in a green military uniform with a massive blade strapped to his back. The hungry ghost instinctively leaped to the ceiling, abandoning its prey at the sight of him. The old man stood tall, his eyes locked onto the evil clinging to the rafters. He didn't flinch, staring down the darkness with a gaze like cold steel. Liu drew his saber in one fluid motion, pointing it directly at the threat. He didn't take his eyes off the monster for even a second. "State your name." "I am Yang Liu, squad leader of the Black Arena Team, 45th Army." The creature on the ceiling couldn't speak, but its body twisted in agony. It was restless and visibly terrified of the old soldier standing before it. Liu gripped his saber with both hands and lunged forward with explosive speed. The sheer force of his strike lit up the dark room like a flash of lightning. The audience back in the Dragon Country erupted as he killed it with a single blow. A mortal man slaying a supernatural horror, it was absolutely ruthless. The chat went wild. "The old guard is no joke. Show those foreigners what a Chinese soldier is made of." Back in the dungeon, Liu turned to the girl and offered a gentle smile. "Don't cry, little girl," he said softly, though Sinjiali just stared back in a daze. She hadn't even realized the danger was already over. "Don't cry now. Grandpa doesn't have any candy to give you here." She wiped her tears and forced a small smile, whispering, "I don't need candy." "Thank you, Grandpa Yang." Looking at his strong, sturdy frame, my gaze softened even more. "You're a soldier too, you're the people. It's my duty as your elder to protect you." Those simple words made the tears start falling all over again. Sinjiali couldn't hold them back, her vision blurring as she sobbed. But the peace didn't last long. A bloody figure unleashed a sinister aura, manifesting suddenly right behind Yang Liu. Sinjiali let out a terrified scream, her heart nearly stopping. "Grandpa, look out!" She lunged forward instinctively with everything she had. She tried to block the blow with her own body, but she was nowhere near fast enough. Just as the horror was about to strike, my calm voice echoed through the room. "All right, the second one ends here." I slid behind the old man and casually raised my right hand. I grabbed the attacking ghost by the throat, my fingers tightening until the creature crumbled into ash. Sinjiali stared at me in shock as I appeared out of nowhere, grabbing my leg and crying. "I thought the spirits got you. No matter how much I called, you wouldn't answer." I smiled gently, signaling for her to calm down. I looked at the old soldier standing before me. I felt a deep respect for these men who defended the country with their own blood, but I saw his life force was spent. I sighed softly and said, "Elder Yang, you're tired. It's time to go." He had held on through sheer stubborn persistence, but his mission was finally over. He was still worried about what would happen to the people of Janos village. I took a deep breath and said, "Elder Yang, in the name of the living world, I promise your son and your people will be safe." The spirit of Yang Liu looked at me, repeating my name, Yang Jian. I continued, "Besides, there is someone waiting for you on the other side. They've been waiting a long, long time." The old soldier whispered, "Someone is waiting for me," as his cloudy eyes began to clear. Memories gradually flooded back into his gaze, looking as if he were piercing through the sky itself. He was looking back through time, seeing the era of humanity once more. Through the smoke of war, he saw a face that had once smiled at him with pure joy. He realized that someone truly had been waiting for him all these years. Right then, a system notification echoed in both my mind and Sinjiali's. "Congratulations. The trial had recognized our progress. The main mission changed from survive 168 hours to village besieged by 100 ghosts." Sinjiali stared at the notification in total shock, stammering, "Yang Jian, you triggered a hidden side mission." The spirit of the old man finally faded away peacefully after hearing my words. Sinjiali was left dazed by the sudden turn of events. I scratched my head, honestly not sure how I had activated the hidden quest myself. Back in the real world, the Dragon Country audience was just as confused. They began comparing me to the legendary figures of the past. The Tyrant of the Ghost Axe, the Merchant of the Ghost Stone, and the strongest of all, Findu, Master of the Ghost Rain. But the worry remained. Every Ghost Master faces the risk of a backlash that could cost them their life. The threat was real. A literal army of ghosts was coming. Even if I could kill one ghost instantly, there were hundreds of them, and the world watched with grim faces, wondering how I'd survive. Inside the trial, Cianeo from the Cherry Blossom Country hid in an abandoned house. He cursed the system, shouting, "Mark my words, Yang Jian, you damn Dragon Country player. That life-giving item should be mine. That essence belongs to the Cherry Blossom Empire." He was seething with envy while I focused on the task at hand. How could anyone defeat a village besieged by hundreds of ghosts? Senjiali lay weakly on the bed, her strength fading. She panicked, crying out, "Yang Jian, what's happening? Grandpa Yang is gone." The old man's time had finally run out. The end had arrived, and Grandpa Yang was about to pass into the next life. I looked at her and said, "Don't be sad. Remember that death isn't the end. Being forgotten is the only true end." I stopped talking and began to refine the origin of the obsession ghost, discovering it was packed with raw power. It contained fragments of twisted, contaminated laws that would allow whoever controlled them to rule over obsession itself. But the cost was high. The evil energy would slowly invade the host, turning them into a malevolent spirit. It felt strange, almost mysterious. This wasn't my world, yet these ghosts felt familiar, so I let out a low shout. A ball of golden flames erupted from my hand, rapidly accelerating the refinement of that twisted origin. The fire burned hot, purifying the darkness within. The evil energy dissipated instantly, and the refined origin began to take a new shape. The process was complete. I slowly opened my eyes, a blinding flash of light sparking and then vanishing in an instant. The next day, Yin Ming Chao returned and saw his father sitting quietly in the courtyard with a complex expression. He told him to go inside because of the cold, but Yang Hun didn't answer, just staring silently into the distance. It was as if he were waiting for someone to finally arrive at the door. Yin Ming Chao's lips trembled, but in the end, he couldn't find the words to speak. Over the following days, the Yangtze village became a pressure cooker of spiritual energy. Evil spirits were hitting a bottleneck, while players from various countries were becoming unusually active. A player named Tian proposed using the villagers as bait to lure the spirits and buy themselves more time. The others all agreed to the cruel plan. By the fourth day, the people of Yin village discovered their livestock had been slaughtered, their blood completely drained. Panic erupted through the streets instantly. Before the sun even rose, the players from the other countries headed out. Each of them carried a jar filled with salt, ready for the ritual. They were moving with a dark purpose. Meanwhile, the citizens of the Dragon Country continued to support me with everything they had. I knew that a truly good person has to see things through to the very end. I wouldn't stop now. I wondered if that idiot from the Cherry Blossom Country was actually telling the truth. He claimed blood could lure the spirits, but would ox blood really be enough to satisfy them? I always felt like that plan wasn't reliable. I just hope they can hold out a little longer, because I've heard ghosts crave the souls of children. I need to leave, but maybe we can tie him up to buy ourselves some time? Is this a joke to you? Are you really here just to have a little fun? It's just as I expected. No matter how many years pass, beasts remain beasts. They never change. How dare you speak to a warrior like that? I represent the great empire of the Cherry Blossom. Letting you die so easily would be far too merciful. Good for you, then. I'll be taking your soul now, sister, and I'll accept it with pleasure. Wait, why is Grandpa Yang leaving? The village chief is busy decorating the courtyard in such a festive way. Do you want to know why? Because today is a ghost wedding. When we're young and surrounded by the smoke of war, we think opportunities are infinite. We fail to appreciate the people right in front of us, not realizing how vast the world is. Once you part ways, it's never easy to see each other again. Years ago, Yang Qinshan and a young girl were deeply in love and secretly engaged. They were ready to marry, but then the mountains crumbled and fire filled the sky. The troops from the Cherry Blossom Country swept through the village like a plague. The bravest young man in the village was Yang Qinshan. I decided to join the army to protect my country and my home. I wanted to say goodbye to her, but destiny is a cruel master with no remedy. The war was urgent, but she thought I had abandoned her. She gave birth to our son and died in her wedding dress, consumed by resentment. By the time I returned many years later, she was long gone. I let Yang Jian see this, so he could understand a century of love and hate. I want him to witness the weight of a life's obsession. Those who sacrifice everything for the world shouldn't leave it with regrets. When will Yang Jian return to face these people again? The sanctuary of the Yang family felt heavy with the past. Do you think these hypocritical acts will make me forgive you? Yang Qinshan, your judgment day has finally arrived. Cui Cui, is that really you? You finally came back. Did you come looking for me? Looking for you? Don't even dream of it. I came here to kill. You abandoned me and our son to die in bitterness, and now you'll pay in blood. I will exterminate the very village you spent your life protecting. Cui Cui, I am so sorry, but the nation was in crisis and our home was shattered. I don't want to hear these high and mighty words anymore. I came here today for one reason. To destroy you. You. What have you done? No, don't be afraid. Cui Cui, I only wanted to see you again, but not like this. Didn't you want to kill him and avenge a century of hatred? I helped you, so shouldn't you thank me? Now you can face your true heart and see how strange the people of this world really are. They never get what they love, and they never value what they have. They doubt when they are together, and they yearn when they are apart. When they yearn, they want to meet, but when they meet, they despise each other. It's a never-ending cycle of misery. Great Immortal, I know you are all-powerful, so I beg of you. I beg you to save him. As long as Qin Shan lives, I will do anything. Anything at all, I'm begging you. Wouldn't it have been better if you had realized this sooner? Yang Qin Shan's life is over, and you want me to save him just to continue a romance. With a ghost woman, his life is spent. It's over. Everything that just happened. Did you see it all? The time that remains belongs to you. I will leave you two alone now, so you can finally finish this incomplete wedding. A reunion delayed by 100 years. Try to understand each other. As for the life of Yang Qin Shan, his time has truly reached its end. Yang Shua and Yang Qin Shan. That is who we are. What are we even doing here? I promised the old Master Yang that after he passed, I would protect this village. I will keep that word. Things are getting strange now. I, Yang Jian, hereby decree, from this day forward, no ghost from the mortal realm shall cross this border. Watching this scene play out, the Dragon Country live chat froze for a second before exploding with question marks. Is Boss Yang Jian out of his mind? He's talking to himself and getting no answer. Giving orders to ghosts about rules? Please, he's way too deep in character. If ghosts listened to reason, they wouldn't be ghosts. This is hilarious. Who does he think he is? He didn't even use a Taoist patriarch's name. He used his own. This is a comedy show at this point. Wait, the trolls haven't seen the half of it yet. The mockery vanished instantly as the scene on the live stream shifted. Every single viewer froze, their eyes widening in pure shock. Their jaws hit the floor when the camera panned outside the house. Those hundreds of fierce ghosts, the moment I finished speaking. Boom. Every twisted monster and vengeful spirit reacted at once. In that heartbeat, their aggression turned into absolute submission. They all dropped to the ground, kneeling toward me in unison. They bowed low, as if swearing to uphold the laws I just decreed. They were following my orders. Then, just as quickly, they vanished into the darkness. Dead silence followed. Holy crap, this is unbelievable. He's invincible. He actually made hundreds of ghosts kneel and obey by using his own name. He imposed rules on the supernatural, and it actually worked. Is that even allowed? I've never seen anything like this in my life. I just learned something new. To the guy who said this was a comedy show, drop your room number. I want to see your face now. Even the usually carefree Zondowie stood there with his pupils constricted in shock. That cynical smirk he always wears vanished completely from his face. It was replaced by an unprecedented solemnity and an excitement he couldn't hide. As the night deepened, the atmosphere shifted entirely. The sun began to rise in the east. The first ray of light signaled the end of the trial. We were the players of the kingdom's strange national luck game. Shen Jia and I had successfully cleared the ghost obsession zone. Chapter 22. Surprise, 10 million life merits. The system announcement for the human race echoed through the air. I had settled everything within the Dragon Kingdom's ghost domain. I gave Yangqin and Jan Kue 2 strands of my divine thought. I presented them with 2 choices, reincarnation bound by the red thread, or remaining together as ghosts, sustained by the village's offerings. As long as they stayed righteous, they could stay in Yangya village. They could be together for a very long time. I didn't interfere with their choice. I just let the system take me back. The next moment, a familiar weightlessness took hold of me. Shinjia and I felt our forms begin to drift and blur. We slowly vanished from the village as the absolute darkness receded. Only a blood-red orb remained, glowing faintly in the empty space. Ding! Congratulations, Yang Jian, for 100% completion of the Ghost Obsession Zone. My comprehensive evaluation was being tallied by the National Luck System. I was ready for whatever reward came next. A reward was coming. An additional, final reward. The system began to process the data. My heart skipped a beat as I realized the potential. It seems this National Luck System works on a specific logic. To get the best rewards, I have to dig up every hidden branch of the story. Was there more to this ghost domain? As I pondered, a chime rang out. The calculation was complete, and the multipliers were being applied. My comprehensive reward rate was finalized. The total was 10 million human race merit points, 10 times the standard amount. I was filled with joy and a burning curiosity. I wondered what effect 10 million merits from this world would have on me. I didn't hesitate for a second and accepted the reward. Suddenly, a pillar of infinitely pure, golden light tore through the dark sky. It descended from the void, straight toward my shoulders. The light enveloped me, carrying a vast power of mercy recognized by heaven and earth. It fused with my physical body and my primordial spirit, leaving me stunned. I could feel my cultivation level skyrocketing at a visible speed. Because of my memories from my past life, I had already prepared my foundation. I was at the peak of the Tai Golden Immortal stage, just one step from the middle phase. I broke through the barrier with ease. I reached the middle phase of the Tai Golden Immortal stage, but the growth didn't stop there. My cultivation continued to climb steadily until I hit the late stage. My foundation became rock solid as the golden light of merit finally began to dissipate. I opened my eyes, a divine light flickering within as my aura grew deeper and more profound. I gently clenched my fist, feeling the surging power coursing through my body. I couldn't help but sigh. The power of merit truly is mysterious. It's no wonder the ancient saints were so desperate to claim it for themselves. I had considered leaving if the humans here were beyond saving or if the rewards were mediocre. But after experiencing this power firsthand, I've decided to stay for now. I want to seize more of this precious energy. After all, karma and merit are among the greatest opportunities in any realm. Even in the mythic world, they are highly coveted. They can refine treasures, unlock supernatural powers, and skyrocket one's cultivation. The great Saint Taishang has the exquisite pagoda, a treasure that makes him virtually invincible. Even the immortal slaying sword formation can't shake a treasure refined with such massive merit. While I don't lack magic weapons, my mastery of the 89 arcane arts is still only at the surface level. If I'm staying, I need to figure out the time flow between this ghost world and the mythic world. I need to know how much time I actually have. I pressed my fingers together like a blade, pointing them at the heavenly eye between my brows. My divine sense crossed through infinite time and space. I wondered how that silly dog of mine had been doing lately. In the next second, the space around me began to twist and warp. A figure emerged with fur as black and shiny as obsidian. His eyes were sharp and full of life. As soon as the black dog appeared, he began racing around me in excitement. His tail wagged like a windmill as he barked with pure joy. Master, you finally summoned me. I missed you so much. This is the best day ever. This was the famous howling celestial dog, the sun-devouring monarch who had followed me since my childhood in the mythic world. Looking at him, a small, rare smile tugged at the corners of my mouth. I reached out and rubbed his head. Xiao Tian, how long has it been since I left? He nuzzled his head against my palm and answered immediately, 7 days. 7 days, that confirmed it. The time flow between the two worlds is almost perfectly synchronized. This was good news. I didn't have to worry about missing the investiture of the gods. Just as I was catching up with Xiao Tian, Shen Jiaji came running over. She looked like she had just discovered a hidden treasure. Erlang Shen, the true lord of the soul, Yang Jian. I thought, save me. This dog will be 10,000 times more useful than that honest old ancestor. Shen Jiaji jumped at the sudden sound, looking around frantically for the speaker. She looked down and realized that at my feet, out of nowhere, stood a black dog, and he was the one talking. You can talk? She stammered, her eyes wide with shock. She instantly scrambled back half a step, asking, are you some kind of dog spirit? Xiao Tian exploded at the comment, baring his teeth in an instant. Hey, you're the spirit. I am the sun-devouring monarch under my master's command. Shen Jiaji had survived a macabre instance before, so her mental resilience was high. She quickly recovered from the shock of a talking dog and studied Xiao Tian's furious face. He looked incredibly spiritual with his smooth fur and large, expressive eyes. Her natural feminine instinct for fluffy creatures took over, and her eyes lit up. A talking puppy, how cute. She reached out, her fear replaced by pure adoration. Will he bite me during this mission? She asked, while I just scratched my head. But just as I was about to answer, the sinister background music grew louder. A cold, mechanical voice echoed through the air, addressing the entire world. Dragon Country's national luck player. Your performance evaluation for this macabre vocation instance is ranked first in the world. Reward, $1 billion. Special early preview. Chapter 23. I can still find familiar faces in this world. Aside from the evaluation, I wondered if there were other rewards. Knowing the full backstory of the next macabre instance wouldn't be bad at all. Suddenly, a flood of information rushed into my mind. It was far more detailed than the system's usual sinister prompts. Fragmented images began to take shape before my eyes. The name of the macabre instance started to repeat in my head. The name of the macabre instance was finally revealed. 7 days on Beigia Island. The background summary described Beigia Island as a beautiful, secluded place. It was a village isolated from the rest of the world, a quiet, peaceful town that had worshipped its own gods for generations. Until one day, a secret sect arrived with the Great Black Ant as its leader. They spread their influence like a dark web. This heretical religion of outer Buddhism took over, performing strange mudras. Their nonsensical chants echoed, my Buddha repairs my clothes, without samudra. 8-character spells, and the gods of the Yang ambush. The darkness was just beginning. I didn't expect too many surprises, since as a rookie, my tasks shouldn't be too difficult yet. But Beigia Island actually had gods lying in ambush, a common tradition in coastal areas. It's a practice from the southeast that reaches all the way into the city zones. Thanks for watching the video. The goal was to appease the gods and eliminate disasters and misfortune. They prayed for blessings to relieve their stress, or so they thought. I wondered which god Beigia Island was inviting, and if the name would sound familiar. I smirked, realizing that even in this world, I might still run into old acquaintances. Every reward from this macabre national luck instance had finally been distributed. The countdown for the player's return began. 10, 9, 1, and the space-time shift hit me. That familiar feeling of weightlessness took over, and a moment later, I looked around. I realized where I was. I was standing right in the center of a spacious classroom. Beside me, Sen Hyaji was recovering, and Xiao Tianquan was sniffing the air with curiosity. Someone screamed that I was back, and the tense classroom instantly erupted into a frenzy. Countless eyes locked onto me, filled with raw emotion and intense curiosity. The students rushed toward me in a fanatical haze, all shouting at the same time. They screamed my name, saying I looked even better in person than on the live stream. They asked how I destroyed the white ghost with a wave of my hand, and if it was Dragon Country magic. One girl even shouted for me to look at her, and the entire scene spiraled into chaos. The scene was a total mess, and Senhyaji clearly wasn't used to being swarmed like this. I raised my hands and told everyone, yes, I'm back. I tried to keep them at a distance while they crowded around me. Xiao Tianquan, on the other hand, let out a low growl of disgust at these two-legged beasts. He looked deeply annoyed, thinking, damn it, I'm only inferior to my master. He was bitter that no one was praising him, only me. I maintained my composure, as the scene reminded me of receiving incense offerings at the harbor. It felt like the massive crowds at a temple fair. Except these people were even more enthusiastic and direct, and then, the classroom door slammed open. The noisy crowd went silent instantly and parted to create a path for the newcomers. 3 people walked in, led by a middle-aged man in an impeccable military uniform. He had a firm face and piercing eyes, and the insignia on his shoulders showed he held a high rank. To his left was a young Taoist in a wrinkled blue robe with messy, tied-up hair. He looked like he had just rolled out of bed. To the right was a girl with short pink hair that reached her jawline. She wore red and blue shorts with a pink crop top that showed off her spectacular physique. The 3 of them walked straight toward me and Senhyaji. The officer's gaze lingered briefly on me and Xiao Tianquan, clearly noticing the black dog that appeared out of nowhere. But he didn't ask any questions about it. Instead, he extended his hand to me for a firm handshake. He gave my hand a slight, firm squeeze. Then he looked me straight in the eyes. Senhyaji quickly responded to his silent greeting. The officer, Li Guan, kept his voice low and got straight to the point. There are too many eyes and ears here, he said. Let's find a better place to talk. I didn't object to the suggestion. I desperately needed a quiet place to process my gains from the last mission. I had to prepare for the next Phantom Spell instance without any distractions. I signaled that I was ready to move. I ignored the envious stares of my classmates as I turned to leave. We walked out of the classroom and saw several vehicles waiting outside. The engines were already humming. A military escort led the way, clearing a path through the university campus. 30 minutes later, we entered a scenic villa district surrounded by mountains and water. High walls, electric fences, and armed soldiers guarded every entrance. Li Guan stepped out of the car and pointed to a luxurious 3-story villa. A school dorm isn't suitable for the challenges you're about to face, he explained. This is the new residence office 749 has prepared for the both of you. It was a base fit for National Fortune players. I looked at the massive estate and realized my life was changing fast. I activated my divine sense to scan the entire area. I felt the aura of the villa and its surroundings. It was still a far cry from the mythic world, but the energy here was several times denser than in a normal city. It was actually a decent place to cultivate. I gave a small nod of approval. Li Guan looked relieved seeing that I was satisfied. He had already investigated Shun Jiai's background thoroughly, but I remained a complete mystery to him. He knew almost every famous young talent from the various Xianmen schools, yet he had never heard of a master like me. Suddenly, the scruffy Taoist who had been silent finally spoke up. Since we are all travelers on the path, he said with a sharp glint in his eye, why don't we exchange a few blows to test our skills? I turned my head slightly, a playful smile tugging at the corner of my lips. I looked at the Taoist and thought, so, you want to see what I'm made of? Let this humble priest open his eyes, he continued. Maybe I can even give you some pointers. He clearly had no idea who he was dealing with. The challenge was set, and the atmosphere turned heavy with anticipation. I stood my ground, ready to show him the true power of an immortal. So, this humble author has a small request for all of you. Please keep reading to save this starving artist and keep the story alive. I truly appreciate your support. Chapter 25, Max Mana and Dodging Basic Attacks. A dog this strong is simply impossible to ignore. Before I could even respond to Taoist John, Xiao Tian couldn't hold back his protective instincts anymore. He stepped forward, and though he didn't reveal his true form, an ancient, barbaric aura leaked out. You want to test my master? Xiao Tian growled, his voice low and arrogant. You need to bring your sect patriarch here just to stand a chance. Taoist John's expression darkened instantly. He hailed from the prestigious Gudan Mountain, a place of near-divine status. In his heart, his sect was beyond reproach. How could he tolerate such mockery from what he saw as a mere beast? You certainly have a spark of divinity in you, creature, he hissed. But do you really think that gives you the right to speak lightly of the Wudong patriarch? Xiao Tian let out a disdainful sneer, his face twisting into a mocking grin. Speak lightly of your patriarch? Even if your patriarch met my master in person, he'd have to bow his head in respect. Xiao Tian lifted a front paw and gestured toward the Taoist. You wanted to test my master? Come then. Taoist John burst into a furious, cold laugh, his eyes burning with rage. I watched the tension reach its breaking point. How could a mere dog dare to be this arrogant? Li Huoqing and Xiaoyan shook their heads, thinking Xiao Tian was just posturing. After all, Taoist John was a top-tier genius of the younger generation. But in the next second, Xiao Tian simply extended a paw forward. There was no wind and no flashy light effects. Yet that ordinary movement made the hair on Taoist John's neck stand up. His inner senses screamed a frantic warning. You will die if that touches you. At the critical moment, Taoist John tapped into every ounce of his cultivation. He pushed the Wudong Supreme technique, the Tai Chi Cloud Step, to its absolute limit. His body twisted and blurred as he scrambled backward toward the trees. On the hard marble floor where he had just stood, 3 deep claw marks appeared. The edges were smooth as mirrors, as if sliced by a divine blade. Even though the Taoist avoided a direct hit, the mere wind from the strike grazed him. It felt like he'd been slammed into by a high-speed train. He stood there gasping for air, his mind reeling in pure disbelief. He looked at the gashes in the ground, then at Xiao Tian, who looked bored. My dog looked like he had done nothing more than swat a mosquito. Taoist John's legs gave out from the sheer weight of his terror. He collapsed backward, his face pale as he realized what kind of monster he was facing. Xiaoyan quickly rushed over to check on Taoist John's condition. She found that he was suffering from a severe case of spiritual exhaustion. His energy was completely drained, even without any obvious external wounds. She felt a small wave of relief, but the shock didn't fade from her face. The terror in her heart was impossible to describe. Li Huoqing watched the scene, his mind racing through the rankings of his organization. Taoist John was easily within the top 3 geniuses of the younger generation. His Wudong martial arts were masterful, yet he couldn't even withstand a casual swipe from this black dog. Just dodging that one strike had exhausted every bit of his strength and knocked him unconscious. And that was the result of the dog holding back. What kind of monster was this? Li Huoqing suppressed the storm in his heart and turned toward me. I had been watching calmly the entire time, my expression never flickering. His tone became unprecedentedly solemn, almost laced with awe. Comrade Yang Jian, Taoist John was reckless today, he said, bowing his head. He didn't know the heights of the heavens or the depths of the earth. I waved it off, telling him, it's fine. It's normal for the youth to be a bit too energetic. You'd better get him to a hospital for a full checkup right away. I looked down at Xiao Tian, who was licking his paw. My dog doesn't know his own strength. If you delay, he won't just be out for 10 days. He'll be a vegetable. Li Huoqing shivered, hearing the cold indifference in my voice. Li Huoqing couldn't help but let out a massive sigh of relief as he prepared to leave. He nodded quickly and thanked me again, saying, yes, thank you for the reminder. He didn't dare delay a second longer, helping Xiaoyan carefully lift the unconscious Taoist John. They got into the car and didn't stop until they were far away from the pool hall. Xiaoyan finally spoke, her voice still trembling with lingering fear. That dog was terrifying. Taoist John didn't stand a single chance against it. She didn't even dare to finish her thought about what that meant for me. After all, if my pet was already this powerful, what did that say about the owner?